Okay, so this is what we will be making today with Zuri's help. Look over the camera. Look. Oh. Hi. Say hi to everybody. It is a simple mini album. Perfect for a little gift or for selling at a craft fair. Fairly simple, comes together in a couple hours. I used the Mintay Urban Jungle paper collection. I also used the chipboard stickers. I got both the 12 by 12 collection and the 6 by 6. However, for this entire album, I just used, I believe it was 10 pieces from the 6 by 6. And so I can make at least one more just out of the 6 by 6 pad. And I haven't even touched the 12 by 12 yet. If you have not seen this album yet, I do a full walkthrough of it on my channel. I will link that down below so you can go check that out and then come back and we are going to make this together right now. Okay, beautiful friends, we are going to go over the materials you're going to need and then we can get going on this 1 hour mini album and hope that we can get it done in an hour. I think we can, I really do. Okay, first, materials. ATG gun. This one actually isn't completely necessary. I find it super handy to use for putting the pattern paper on. However, this is all about using what you have. If you only have glue, if you only have score tape, then use that, okay? But that is something that I like to use. So adhesives, I will be using both a wet adhesive and a double-sided score tape for the construction of the actual pages and album. But if you, again, just use one or the other if that's what you have. We'll need some magnets. This one doesn't take too many magnets. I think I only used like 6 sets, so maybe 12 magnets or so. So you don't need very many. I use 1mm by 10mm disc magnets. I do have them in my Etsy shop, but you can also find them online. Okay, paper trimmer. You can just measure it and cut it with scissors. Paper trimmer though is incredibly handy. A ruler. Again, not completely necessary because we won't be poking any holes in this one, but this is a craft, like a piercer. I just use it to help get my double-sided tape backing off. Your patterned paper, and I do have a few random pieces of coordinating cardstock that I just had in my stash. Just bits and pieces from different collections, so I'm going to use a little bit of that as well. You will need some cardstock. I'm using white for this one. You can use craft, you can use black, whatever you have. This is just an 80-pound plain cardstock, nothing special. I think I used 10 or 12 sheets for the entire thing. You'll need some chipboard. If you do not have a piece of chipboard like this, you can just use like cereal boxes or, you know, cracker boxes, like something like that, and just they're quite thin though, so I would suggest doubling them up to make them a little bit thicker, perhaps even triple thickness. But I mean, you don't have to go out and buy chipboard. If you have, you can just go through your cupboards and finish a bunch of boxes of things. Okay, and then lastly, a scoreboard. This is one of those things that I feel like every crafter should have in their arsenal of craft stuff. So a bone folder for helping to crease things, and then the scoring tool to help score your paper. If there's one thing that you don't have that you're like, what should I get to make things? Scoreboard with the bone folder, and these would come with it, and a paper trimmer. Those two things will make your crafting life so much better. All right, I'm gonna get this out of the way and then we are going to start creating, and I'm gonna do everything in real time. I'm not gonna fast forward anything. And we're gonna try and do this whole thing in an hour. So let's see how we go. Okay, we are gonna begin by making the cover of the album. So take your piece of chipboard. We're gonna cut 2 pieces that measure 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. Okay, and then we are going to cut 1 piece that is 1 3/4 by 6 3/4, and that's going to be the spine. Okay, now don't throw these pieces away. You can use them for other bits and pieces and projects and swing tabs and such later on. Okay, so we've got our 3 pieces of chipboard. Now we are going to take 2 pieces of cardstock. We're going to cut them down to 8 3/4. I'm cutting them both at the same time. I've got a new blade in here by 10. Okay, keep these pieces, we can use them later. And now we are going to adhere these 2 pieces together. So I'm going to put a couple lines of score tape and then a little bit of wet adhesive. And we're overlapping them by around an inch. Okay, fabulous. Now we are going to add some adhesive to the backs of our chipboard pieces. So again, you can do a bit of, I'm going to do a bit of both, a bit of wet adhesive and score tape. You can just use wet adhesive if you like. I'm just very impatient for it to dry, so what the score tape does is it sticks it instantly to whatever it is you're trying to stick it to. And then the wet adhesive, it's a little bit stronger, and so it'll last, you know, the test of time a little longer, and B, it gives you that tiny bit of wiggle room. If you haven't got it exactly in the spot that you need it to be, the wet glue will let you move it just a smidge. You have just a tiny bit of a small window of air. Okay, I'm gonna grab a bone folder and just quickly go over those a little bit, just so they're Definitely down there. Okay. Now we are going to remove. Actually, I'm going to do the center one first. Okay, and then some wet adhesive. Oh, come on, glue. Don't you know we're on a time limit? Let's work. Work with me here. Oh, there's a glob. Okay. Okay, should be unglobbed. Come on, come on, come on. Oh my gosh, really? Really? Is this gonna work better? There we go, okay. Back on track, back on track. So lay the spine piece right down in the center. You can kind of eyeball center. You might want to dry fit these just to make sure you've got enough space on either side. I am obviously not quite centered. Let's try and move this over a little bit. Okay, something like that. Excellent. Okay, now we're going to put our other two pieces on. Hi, buddy. Hi. Hi, buds. How are you doing? Yeah? Okay, so make sure to leave a space in between the spine piece and your front and back covers. You can come up and say hi. Hi. Did you have a good nap? Anyone who does not know him, this is Zuri. He's my crafting buddy. He likes to be here in the studio. Hey, Bug. No, he's going to his chair. He's taken over I have a wheelie office chair here, and it became his basically within a couple days of getting it. I don't often get much room on it. Okay, leave a space there as well. You want to make sure that these are going to be able to have the room to move and to bend, so we want to leave a space there. So bend those down, or push those down really well. Now I want about 1 inch on either side. I've got a little bit extra, so I'm just going to trim just a smidge off both sides. If there's extra, it's fine. I'm just gonna trim a little bit off just to make it even. Better to have too much than too little, for sure. Okay, now we are going to put some score tape all the way around the outside perimeter of the chipboard, and again add some wet adhesive to that as well. Okay, before we add the adhesive, oh, did I have scissors in my list of things that we need? Scissors is something that you need. Shoot, I don't know if I had that in my list or not. We're gonna miter the corners, so we're gonna kind of cut at an angle like that. So when you hit the corner of the chipboard, you're just gonna cut in an angle out. Okay, get rid of those. And now we're gonna kind of go like this with our cover and just kind of training those bends, you know, just to kind of help the cardstock know where it's supposed to go. Now I'm going to remove the backing off one of the long sides, add a bit of wet adhesive, and push it down. So if we just had the wet adhesive here, it would be popping up because there's so much pressure trying to make it pop back up, and you'd have to hold it down for quite a while before it completely adhered. Having the combination of the score tape and the wet adhesive makes it so that it's very strong, but it will also stay right away and adhere. Okay, and now we're going to do the sides. Before we do the sides, I like to kind of like do a little push in of the corner, just so that it doesn't create a pointy bit. This is very optional. It's just a personal thing that I like to do. Okay, and then the other side. Okay, and now we're just going to cut one small piece to put right here. So one of the offcuts of what you cut should be enough. So we're just going to cut it to our covers are 6 3/4. So let's cut it to 6 1/2. Or just a smidge shy of that. Okay, and I'm going to put some adhesive on here. Not sure if you can hear it or not, but our upstairs neighbor is vacuuming right now, so I apologize if you can hear the vacuum. I'm not sure how much the camera is picking up. Okay, putting that right down in the center. Okay, and I'm just going to take my ruler, go where the crease is, and just kind of bend this up. And then same on the other side here, just to help it bend. Oh, what have I got here? Oh well. Okay, perfect. So there is your cover. Set that aside, and now we are going to work on our pages. So bring in your cutter. We're going to cut 6 pieces that are 6 1/4 by 6 5/8. Now, I know you're probably thinking like, why don't we just cut, we can get 4 6x6 pieces out of one piece of paper. That is true. But I want to be able to use a 6x6 paper pad without having to cut the actual paper itself in a lot of the cases. We're going to use all these scraps for the rest of the bits and pieces, so don't you worry. This album has very minimal waste, so don't worry. Okay, so 6 1/4 by 6 5/8. All right, now we are going to get our scoreboard. We're going to score at 6 1/4 on the 6 5/8 inch side of each of these pieces. Okay, set that aside for a sec. Now we are going to put just a little bit of score tape on 3 of these. Actually, yeah, it can be on the valley side. So when you score something, there's, oh, it's really hard to see on this. When you score something, there's like an indent, and I'm gonna do it on something darker. Okay, so you can probably see it on the black. So there's an indent where I scored it. That's called a valley. The back side, there's a raised edge. We call that the mountain. So in order to like help keep the strength and integrity of the paper, you want to always fold away from that indent. Okay? So just a little tip there for you. So we're going to put on 3 of these, we're going to put just one small line of score tape. Okay, and then let's remove the score tape. I'm also going to put a tiny bead of glue. Okay, and then I'm going to take one of the ones that does not have any adhesive, and I'm going to adhere them to each other, just overlapping that tiny little section. That like 3/8 of an inch section is where they're overlapping. Okay, just right there. I'm going to do that to all 3. So I'm just laying the one that does not have adhesive over top of the one that does. Okay, awesome. And now I'm going to fold on the creases. So right now these are both showing the valley side, so they're going to both fold this direction. Okay, so now the adhesive is hidden underneath there. All right, we're gonna make 3 of those. I'm gonna use my bone folder just to give them a little crease. Come here. Okay, and now we are going to adhere these back to back to back, like that. Okay, so I'm going to put just a little bit of score tape. You can, if you like, you can just put the adhesive on 3 sides so that you've got a pocket on the top or the side of the page. So you can either leave the side here free of adhesive, or you could leave the top free of adhesive, and then you could stick something in between the pages, kind of essentially creating a pocket. I'm going to close mine, but it is completely your choice. Okay, so I'm just sticking one of those on there. So I'm flattening this is the gusset right here. I'm just gonna lift it up so you can see it. So I'm flattening that gusset, and then I'm flattening this one as well, so that they line up when they are unfolded. Okay, so now I've got 2 of these, and they are stuck together right here in the center. So if you just put score tape on these 3 sides, then you'd have a pocket up here. If you just put score tape on these 3 edges, then you'd have a pocket in between them right here. Okay, I'm going to close mine, but feel free to have a pocket there. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with that other set. Okay, add a little bit of wet adhesive. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3, and we've got 4 kind of signatures or whatever, creating 8 pages. Okay, so now that our pages are together, the last step for this part of it is to cut 2 pieces that are 2 inches by 6 1/4. And then grab your scoreboard, and we are going to score each of those at 1 and 1 1/8. 1 and 1 1/8. Okay, put your scoreboard away. Okay, now we are going to add some adhesive to the mountain side of 1/2. It doesn't matter which half. So we're going to add score tape and then a little bit of wet adhesive. Making sure not to have any adhesive actually touching the score lines. Put the adhesive right up to, but not over the score lines. Okay, before we continue, we should crease these. Use your bone folder. I'm just using my nails, but you should probably use your bone folder. Remember to fold fold on the valley, like fold the indent in on itself. Okay, and now we're going to remove the score tape backing. Where's my craft pick? Okay, remove the tape backing, add a little bit of wet adhesive, and then these are going to adhere to the front and back of our pages. So 1 will adhere to the front, and make sure that that 1/8 of an inch score line is lined up with the edge of your page. Okay, so you can see that 1/8 of an inch score line right there, and then the other one is going to go on the back page. These little pieces are how we're going to attach our pages to our spine. Okay, so line it up so that that 1/8 of an inch score line is right at the edge. Okay, so now you have something that looks like that. You've got 2 little flappy bits that are sticking out. Okay, so now on one of them, just put a little tiny bit of score tape, like a 1/4 of an inch of adhesive. I'm also going to use wet adhesive. I didn't go very straight with that piece of score tape though. It's kind of hanging off the edge. Let's fix that. Okay, now we are going to overlap these 2 pieces by, like, with that 1/4 of an inch. So it's a little bit tricky, but you want to just overlap that 1/4 of an inch. Kind of have to use your fingers underneath because it's going to form like a bit of a rounded edge almost. Okay, so that's why we have those 2 little 1/8 of an inch gussets. They're going to kind of stick out the edge. See how there's that little overlap on either side? And these 2 are overlapped. Oops, these 2 are overlapped by just like an 1/8 of an inch right here. Okay, now we're going to put adhesive all over the back of this, and then it is going to go down onto our spine piece. Might be easier to kind of lay this flat to add the adhesive. So the two bits that we just adhered are right against the spine here, and they're overlapping a little bit. And then you've got that 1/8 of an inch gusset here, and then another 1/8 of an inch gusset right there, and then that allows the pages to come away from the spine just a little bit so that they can move better. So kind of just like, you know, when you look at a regular book, how there's the curve of the pages and then the spine. That's kind of how I like to do my albums. Anyway, okay, so the pages are in. Give them a good crease in between each page. And now let's move on to cutting our elements that are going to go on the pages, because I feel like I'm getting behind here. Alright, so let's cut some pieces. So our first design, we're going to do 3 designs, and we're going to do each of them twice, or if you like a specific one, you can do it 6 times if you like. It's totally up to you, but I'm going to do 3 different page designs and repeat them, and then have a couple pages that just have nothing on them at all. Alright, so the first page design has 3 pieces. One is 6 1/4 by 4 3. So again, I'm using all my scraps that I cut off from everything previously. So 6 1/4 by 4 3. This is all in inches. I don't know if I ever mentioned that, but if I did not, I'm doing so now. And then we also have a piece that is 7 1/4 by 2 3/8. I'm cutting 2 pieces at a time here, so I'm cutting the parts for both pages at the same time. And then we need 2 that are 6 by 11, so I do need one more sheet. Okay, so set those aside. Those are the pieces for page 1. We're going to cut all of our pieces at the same time. So that's your first design. The second design is 4 1/2 by 5 1/2 is the first piece. It's already 5 1/2, it's perfect. Okay, 4 1/2 by 5 1/2, and then 4 1/2 by 3 1/4. And then 2 at 6 1/8 by 4 5/8. Okay, and because we need 2 of them for the page design, I'm going to cut 4 altogether. 6 1/8 by, what did I just say? 4 5/8. Okay, and then the last, oh, then that's everything. That's all there is for our page design 2. Page design 3, 7 1/4 by 5 1/4. 7 1/4 by 5 1/4. And then 6 1/8 by 4 3/4. And 6 inches by 5 1/2. Perfect. That one's already exactly the size I needed it at. I love when that happens. So this is what we have left of our previous bits and pieces. So not a lot of scrap. We can even use some of these in some tuck spots, and we'll find some waste. So barely any waste whatsoever. Okay, now let's put our cutter away, grab our scoreboard. Okay, let's start with the first design. All right, so we've got our 6 1/4 by 4 3/4 pieces. We're going to score each of those at half on the 4 3/4 inch side. Okay, and then the 7 1/4 by 2 3/8. We're going to score those at half on the 2 3/8 inch side, and then we're going to rotate it and score again at half and 6 3/4. Okay, so half on the 2 3/8, half, and 6 3/4 on the 7 1/4. And then on the big pieces, move this out of the way, on the large pieces, the 6 by 11, we are just going to score at 5 1/2. Okay, so that is all the scoring we're going to do for the first design. Second design, 4 1/2 by 5 1/2. We're going to score at half on the 5 1/2 inch side. I cut mine at 5 3/8 instead of 5 1/2, but it'll still work just as fine. So I'm not going to recut them. The second one's the 4 1/2 by 3 1/4. We're going to score at half on the 3 1/4. And for the pieces that are 6 1/8 by 4 5/8, we're going to score at half on the 4 5/8 inch side. Everybody still with me? I know I'm saying a lot of numbers fairly quickly. I'll put them on the screen so that you can see it. Okay, so that is everything for design 2. Design 3. We've got our 7 1/4 by 5 1/4. We're going to score at half on the 5 1/4, and then rotate it and score again at half and 6 3/4, just like we did on that other piece for design 1. just a bigger version. Okay, and then we're going to score at half on the 4 3/4 inch side for the second piece. And then the last piece doesn't need any scoring at all. Okay, we can put our scoreboard away. And now we're going to add score tape to all of those 1/2 inch sections. So I'm going to bring back all the pieces for design A. I'm going to put score tape on the valley side of each of the 1/2 inch sections. Okay, that's it for that. Now we're going to miter the corners. So I'm just going to cut off at an angle, like where the score line to the edge of the paper, just so it like creates like an angle. And this just creates a neater fold when we fold this under. And then on these ones, make sure they're the same orientation. We're going to snip off a little bit from each of the corners the same way as we did the first one, and then on the intersecting lines, cut until the score lines intersect, and then kind of angle your scissors and cut out, and that way it creates like an angle in, angle out. Okay, so that's your design 1. Okay, and now for the design 2, again we're putting score tape on all the 1/2 inch sections on the valley side. The cool thing about this kind of album, we're just going to miter all those corners now as I tuck. The cool thing is that you can cut all of these pieces out a few times, like as you're doing it, and like, you know, make 3 covers at a time, and then cut out multiples of this, and so you can kind of like make 2 or 3 albums at the same time just by kind of working in a, almost like a, what's the word? Like a chain line, like a line up. Oh my gosh, words. What am I trying to say? I can't think of the word I'm trying to say. Assembly line. Thank you. There we go. Thanks, brain. You actually did it. That was probably a very long pause while my brain worked. Yeah, so in like an assembly line fashion, and then you know, make a few at a time, and then, you know, one album, if you do it on its own, might take an hour, hour and a half, but if you're doing 3 all at once, like especially if you have like something like the, you know, Mintay paper pad where you've got 3 sets of the exact same papers, so you can do them all exactly the same and cut everything all at once, especially if you have a good paper trimmer, and saves you so much time. And in saving time, you're also saving money if you're selling them at a craft fair or something, right? So highly encourage you to, you know, do stuff like that. Make multiples. Also with like, if you're a card maker, things like that, like it's always good to try and make them in a batch. Okay, perfect. So everything is mitered. Now we can start putting our pieces all together. So bring your album back in. All right. Now you can do this in any order. I mean, I've got my designs as page 1, design 2, design 3. You can go in any order that you so desire, but this is how I'm planning on doing it. So for the first one, we're going to fold all of our score lines. Should probably crease them all with a bone folder as well, actually. Good practice. I'm removing the long part first from this, should we call it, what should we call it? I should have labeled them all as A, B, and C, but you can see which one I'm working with. It's the small one. So I'm going to put a little bit of wet adhesive as well, just a tiny bead, and I'm going to put it right down at the bottom of our very first page. Okay, so pocket. Now I'm going to put this other one with a 1/2 inch section. It's going to go at the top of this page. And it is going to, it should meet the pocket almost exactly. Okay, so it'll meet the pocket, and then the insert here, one that doesn't have any score tape, it's going to slide right into the pocket, just like that, and kind of essentially closing the pocket. Okay, so that's your page 1 design. I think I'm going to leave this one blank, and I'm going to do something on this. So this one is going to be my second design. So I'm going to take the 4.5 by 5.5. And I'm going to adhere it right in the, like, centered top to bottom. Feel free to measure this exactly. I'm just going to eyeball it. Okay, and make sure that it is right up to but not over top of that page gusset there. And then the smaller bit, the 4.5 by 3.5, is going to go even with that, but on the opposite side. So make sure that they're even. Okay, and then open them up, and then you're going to put these on the, in between those two pieces, like kind of lined up at the top and the bottom. So one is going to go right in between them, and it's going to line up with the top of them. And open up, and the other one is going to line up with the bottom. Okay, and then these close up like that. Okay, and then this one we're going to put, it's our third page design. So this is the other, this is another pocket, so it's a bigger pocket. So removing the long part first, folding the two sides so that they adhere just at those corners. I do it that way because that way a tag, let's use something as a tag here. So a tag will slide all the way in nicely. If you have the sides underneath this bottom edge, sometimes they can get caught right there and don't go all the way in, so that's why I do it that way. Adding a tiny bit of wet adhesive. And that's going to go right at the bottom here. Okay, and then this piece, the other one with adhesive on it, is going to go at the bottom of the pocket, and it's going to fold down. Okay, so it's going to fold down like that. And then this other part, that's your insert for your pocket. Alright, so and now we can repeat the designs again. And I mean, if you want, you can just stick with that if you want to. It's completely up to you. I'm gonna start with one again, but this time I'm gonna put the pocket on the side. Okay, so I'm going to put it on the side of the base page and it's facing inwards. And then this is going to go opposite. Like that. And do this one. How can we do this one slightly different? We can move the whole thing up a little bit. Maybe let's just do that. Move it up and or down. Instead of putting it in the middle, let's put it down at the bottom. I just decided I wanted to put the small one on this side. Okay. Oops, sorry if my head just got in the way there. I feel like it might have. I think I might, instead of having one go up and one go down, I think I'm going to put this one going down as well. Just to make things a little bit different, you know? So make it even with the bottom of the page. Alright, so there is that. And then the last page design, I mean, you can even put it on the back cover, if you desire, or leave it off altogether. Completely your choice. I think I might, do I want to leave it off? How many blank pieces, how many blank pages do I have? I've got 1, 2, 3. No, I'll put it up. I'm gonna put it on the, oh, indecisive. Yeah, I'm gonna put it on the back cover. Oh, but before I do that, quickly want to add my closure. So I want to have some ribbon as my closure. So I'm going to put a little piece of score tape there. I'm just going to get some ribbon that's going to match. Okay, this is a really pretty green here, like a sage green. I'm going to cut more than I think I need because I'd rather have too much than not enough. Okay, and I'm going to put just a little bit on top of that score tape. I'm also going to add some wet adhesive. Might as well do it on the front as well while we have it out. Looks pretty even. Okay, so we've got our ribbon on, we've got our pages in. Now we just have to add a few sets of magnets and then our pattern paper, and then we're done. So the insert on the first page design is closing the page, so we don't need anything there. So we will put a magnet on this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little piece of score tape on the inside of the little flap. We're going to put 2 magnets that are magnetized together on top of that score tape. Put a little bit more score tape on top of that. I use thin disc magnets. They're 10mm by 1mm. And there is our magnet there. This one, we'll put a magnet on this one. I'm going to do this one a little bit different because I'm planning on leaving this part open, like just for a photo, so I'm not going to put pattern paper there. So I don't want to have a magnet that is going to have to be covered. So what I'm going to do in this case is to put a piece of score tape on the front. You want to leave at least half an inch around the magnet, so when you put your pattern paper on, the magnet isn't poking out the edge. So 1 magnet there. I'm going to let another magnet kind of just find its buddy through the cardstock. Put another piece of score tape on that. And close her up. There we go. Our third page design, that doesn't need anything because it's that one that has the insert holding it closed. On this one, once again, we will do the magnets the same way. I do have these magnets in my shop, my Etsy shop, but you can also find them all over the place online. Alright, so we're just adding 2 magnets with a little piece of score tape, making a little magnet sandwich. Closing that up. And then our very last set of magnets on our last page here, I'm going to do it that same way, putting a 1 magnet on the front, letting it find its buddy, putting some more score tape, and closing her up. There we go. All right, so your album is now completed. Now we just have to add all of our patterned paper. I'm gonna do that off camera and show you the finished result. If you would like me to do another kind of 1 hour mini album and also show you putting the pattern paper on, please let me know. I have done just the three spots that we left as a blank canvas without any design elements. I've already put the design paper on there, just because you don't have to cut it at all, you just put it on, and then I'm going to work the rest of my pattern paper around what is there. But if you would like to see me add the pattern paper as well, then next time I can do that if you would like. For this one, I'm going to let you add it yourself, just in case you don't have the Mintay Urban Jungle, because you can use whatever pattern paper you so desire. And yeah, thank you for crafting with me. And we almost did it. It was, I think it was probably about 1 hour 15, but we came close. We came pretty close, so I feel accomplished in that. All right, and just tie that up, just trim the ribbon as you so desire, and you got yourself an album. Amazing! Alright, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you will tune in soon. I'm going to have a lot more projects like this, a lot more things that you can do fairly quickly to sell at craft fairs or give as gifts, and yeah, all that fun stuff. Also, just a prequel to something coming up, I'm going to teach you how to make these alcohol ink, either coffee mugs or candle holders. I haven't decided yet, just so you know. Okay. I love you all. Thank you so much. Big hugs and have an amazing day. Be kind to one another. Wow. Look up, say hello to everybody. Say hello. Oh, such a good boy. Such a good boy. Hey?